The man accused of killing UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson has just pleaded not guilty in New York State court.
Hear me on this. He is no hero. The real hero in this story is the person who called 911 at McDonald's this morning.
This morning, alleged killer Luigi Mangione is ratcheting up his accusations that prosecutors at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office knowingly and inappropriately violated his rights by viewing his private medical records.
Deny, defend, depose. Those were the three words written on the shell casings found at the scene of the murder. Three words that would give us a clue into the killer's motive behind the murder and why prosecutors now want him dead. I'm Katie, a true crime analyst, self-defense instructor, and a fierce advocate for victims. And this is Crime House Daily, your essential true crime companion every weekday, morning and night, powered by Pave Studios. Here at Crime House Daily, we will be taking an investigative approach to true crime. We stay on the cases and trials making headlines now, where justice is still in motion, arrests are still being made, and where new evidence is still coming to light. This is a First Watch episode, our morning show making sure you're up to speed on today's biggest crimes. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Crime House Daily. This episode discusses active criminal cases and breaking news. The information we share is based on what's publicly available at the time of recording and may change as new evidence comes to light. We aim to inform, not to decide guilt or innocence. Everyone mentioned is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Today, we are covering two major cases in the news. The first is a breaking news development in a case that took the nation by storm last year. Luigi Mangione appeared in a Manhattan court just this week, where a judge dismissed two of the most serious charges against him. The Crime House team is here to break it all down for you. The second case brings us down to Austin, Texas, where a 32-year-old shooter claiming to be Jesus awaits his next court date. Before I get into our main stories, I want to talk about a couple cases that got my attention. Just now, a North Carolina elections official was arrested after surveillance footage captured him putting narcotics into his granddaughter's ice cream. Police have not shared a possible motive, but we'll definitely keep our eye on this one. The headline alone is so bizarre and disturbing, I need more answers. Over in Utah, a 33-year-old man has just been charged with the murder of his girlfriend. He is suspected of locking her and her dog in a storage unit and trapping them in as the fire broke out. He's adamant it was an accident, but prosecutors feel like something is off. People are currently split on whether or not he is telling the truth, but the Crime House team will be on standby for updates as we await trial. We start the story with breaking news about a case that blew up last December. Just this week, Luigi Mangione, the man accused of shooting and killing UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, appeared in a Manhattan court. A judge tossed out two of the most serious charges against him and ruled that there wasn't enough evidence to charge him with first and second-degree murder as acts of terrorism. There were 3 rows of Luigi supporters who came to watch the hearing. So where did it all begin? It all begins on the quiet early morning of December 4th, 2024, outside a Hilton hotel in Manhattan. Just a few blocks away, New Yorkers are gearing up for the annual tree lighting at Rockefeller Center. But 50-year-old UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson has something else on his mind. He is about to walk into the company's annual investor conference. Brian is up early and leaves the Hilton Hotel around 6:45 a.m. to head to the conference. Despite the fact that United Health Group was on track to achieve a record-breaking year, they were still facing a few problems. In the months leading up to Thompson's death, Thompson and other United Health executives were facing antitrust investigation by the Department of Justice. Lawsuits were filed alleging that Thompson and other executives sold millions in stock options before the probe was made public. They were also facing a lawsuit by the families of two elderly men who alleged that this insurer had an AI algorithm to deny and override claims to elderly patients that had been approved by their doctors. The algorithm in question, known as NH Predict, allegedly had a 90% error rate. And according to the families of the two deceased men who filed the suit, UHC knew it. Moments after Brian steps out of his hotel, CCTV captured a man in a hooded jacket and face mask approaching him from behind. He pulls out a gun and shoots him multiple times in the back and leg. Brian Thompson collapses and is found lying on the ground and gets rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he's pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Then, the shooter takes off on foot before grabbing an electric bike and vanishing into Central Park. Within hours, a multi-agency manhunt is underway. Investigators speak to Brian's colleagues and loved ones, analyze the crime scene, and sift through surveillance footage. Quickly, it becomes clear that the shooting was planned. Brian's wife and the mother of his two kids, Paulette, tells authorities that he'd been receiving threats. Brian never told her specific details about the threats, but it seemed like they may have been from customers who were angry about their insurance coverage. But what really tips them off to the fact that this was a targeted attack are the words found on the shell casings at the crime scene: deny, defend, depose. When this detail is released, many people believe it is a reference to the 2010 book, Delay, Deny, Defend: Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. These words send a bold message that echo the predatory practices of some insurance companies, practices that have resulted in the denial of coverage for millions of Americans, leaving them drowning in debt or worse, dead. Detectives used security footage to trace the shooter's movements around the Hilton in the hours leading up to the crime. Based on footage from outside the hotel, they know they're looking for a slim, young man in a dark hooded jacket and a gray backpack. They soon discover that the suspect had been staying at a hostel, which he left around 5:30 a.m. Around 6:15, he stopped at a Starbucks to grab a water bottle and granola bars. He then wandered the area for about 25 minutes before arriving across the street from the Hilton. Finally, he stood on the corner and waited until he spotted Brian Thompson coming out of the hotel around 6:45 a.m. Detectives head to the hostel, hoping that they might have a name, and they do. The suspect's name is Mark Rosario, but after running his name through their database, they quickly realize it's just an alias. They are back to square one, so they decide to ask for assistance from the public and share the stills from security footage in hopes that someone recognizes the suspect. But after the public starts learning the details of this case and who the victim is, something unexpected happens. The news explodes on social media, and it quickly becomes apparent that most people are completely apathetic, and an even larger number view his actions as justified. His message and his target even make him a hero to some. Comments under posts read, "Thoughts and deductibles to the family. Unfortunately, my condolences are out of network." Others told personal stories of loved ones who were denied coverage and passed away because they couldn't receive care. Some claim that the CEO was the one with blood on his hands because numerous people have died as a result of their company prioritizing the bottom line over people's lives. The suspect leaves another clue for the NYPD that sparks even more debate. It's a backpack filled with Monopoly money and a Tommy Hilfiger jacket. Despite the clue, the NYPD still doesn't have much to go on except a few CCTV screenshots that many question are not even the same person. The suspect completely evades the NYPD, sparking even more speculation and lore. Who is this guy? Is he a hitman? Is he a vigilante? Is he ex-military? In the security footage, you see his gun jam, and he handles it like a professional and takes his target down with only 3 shots. It's been days, and the NYPD still hasn't found him. On December 9th, 5 days after the shooting, they finally get a lead. A customer at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, almost 300 miles from New York, notices a man who looks a lot like the suspect. He's sitting at the back table on a laptop, wearing a beanie and a face mask, and he's carrying a gray backpack that looks just like the killer's. The customer alerts an employee who then calls 911. When Pennsylvania State Police arrive at the scene, the man is still there. Officers quickly apprehend him and search his backpack, and they find numerous pieces of incriminating evidence. He's carrying multiple fake IDs, including a New Jersey driver's license with the name Mark Rosario. They also find a 3D printed gun, also known as a ghost gun. It doesn't have a serial number, which is illegal, and there's also a 3D printed silencer, which explains why many people didn't hear the shots fired that day. Finally, officers find a 3-page handwritten document railing against American mega corporations like UnitedHealthcare. The officers are certain this was a shooter from New York. They take him into custody and explain that he's under investigation. That's when he admits his name isn't really Mark Rosario, it's Luigi Mangione. And it won't be long until it's all over the news. Investigators start digging into 26-year-old Luigi Mangione's history and are pretty surprised to learn that his background doesn't exactly scream criminal. His family is super wealthy, he'd gone to an Ivy League university, and he was even valedictorian of his high school in Baltimore. They know that the key to understanding Luigi's potential motive is in that 3-page document. Some of the most notable lines say things like, quote, "I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done." And, quote, "These parasites had it coming." It's these kinds of ideas that deepen the rift in public opinion towards Luigi Mangione. Some people think this anger at the uber wealthy is understandable, but others feel strongly that vigilante justice shouldn't be tolerated. And that even if Luigi's anger was justified, killing Brian Thompson certainly wasn't. But no matter what anyone personally thinks, the fact is, Luigi Mangione is accused of some very serious crimes. In Pennsylvania, he's charged with forgery, carrying a firearm without a license, presenting false identification to law enforcement, and possessing instruments of crime. He doesn't enter a plea and is held without bail until he is extradited to New York on December 19th, 10 days after his initial arrest. There, he faces 11 more counts, including first-degree murder as an act of terrorism, which alleges that Mangione killed Brian Thompson to intimidate or coerce a group of people and influence government policy by intimidation or coercion, as well as second-degree murder, multiple weapons charges, and possession of a forged instrument, which had to do with the fake IDs. As we mentioned earlier, those first and second-degree murder charges were just tossed out, and his next court appearance is on December 1st. This time, Luigi pleads not guilty on all of the New York charges. For these crimes, he's facing life in prison without parole. But soon, he's confronted with an even harsher possibility: Around the same time the New York State indictments are filed, Luigi catches federal charges, including stalking and murder through use of a firearm, which makes him eligible for the death penalty. In one of her first Instagram posts as Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi announces that she has directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty. In April of 2025, Luigi pleads not guilty to all of the federal charges as well. His lawyers want that trial to be held first, since it runs the risk of capital punishment. It seems like it will happen in 2026 at the earliest, but it will be a while before we know for sure. Luigi's most recent hearing took place on August 5th, 2025, and during that hearing, he was granted access to a laptop while in federal custody. He doesn't have internet access, but he'll be able to review documents related to his case in order to help with his own defense. And a couple weeks after that, on August 20th, Luigi's lawyers claimed prosecutors with the Manhattan DA's office improperly accessed his private medical records during their investigation. The significance of this is still unclear, but it's being taken extremely seriously. His team is considering a range of options, from seeking to suppress the evidence, get the prosecution to recuse themselves, or even have the indictment dismissed altogether. But prosecutors claim that this was just a clerical error on Aetna's side and that it is not their fault that they had sent these personal documents alongside their requests for proof of coverage. Also, on August 29th, prosecutors argued in a filing that Luigi possesses a threat to the public because he is actively seeking to influence others to follow in his footsteps. Prosecutors wrote in the document that, quote, simply put, the defendant hoped to normalize the use of violence to achieve ideological or political objectives. And, quote, since the murder, certain quarters of the public who openly identify as acolytes of the defendant have increasingly begun to view violence as an acceptable or even necessary substitute for reasoned political disagreement. In the meantime, we'll be right back with a rapidly developing story. This one's about a sudden fatal shooting just 1 month ago that left 3 people dead. The alleged killer is in custody, but what was his motive? Roughly a month ago, 32-year-old Ethan Nieneker was arrested in Austin, Texas. He's accused of murdering 3 people and a host of other crimes related to the event. As we speak, Ethan is being held on a $3.4 million bond as the proceedings against him move forward. Prosecutors have charged him with capital murder, which means he could face the death penalty in Texas. On the afternoon of August 11th, 2025, back-to-school shopping is in full swing, and shoppers are buzzing around a Target store in Austin, Texas. Outside, families load up the trunks of their cars while employees quickly collect shopping carts. One of those employees is 24-year-old Rosa Martinez Machuca. Rosa has a reputation as a hard worker who always helped out her mom with household finances. Around 2:15 p.m., as Rosa wrangles carts in the parking lot, another young man, 32-year-old Ethan Nieneker, makes his way towards the store. When Ethan gets closer, he sets his eyes on Rosa. Then Ethan pulls out a gun and fires at her. As Rosa falls to the ground, people scream and scatter, ducking behind cars or darting into the store. Ethan also keeps moving. He spots a gray Toyota 4Runner. It's not clear whether it's moving or parked, but either way, Ethan fires multiple shots at the car. He kills 2 people inside, 65-year-old Adam Chow and Chow's 4-year-old granddaughter. Chow's wife is also inside the car. She's injured, but she's able to take her granddaughter's body from the car as she escapes. Adam's body also ends up outside of the car. It's possible he was trying to protect his family when he was shot. After unleashing all of this mayhem, Ethan gets into the now empty 4Runner and speeds off. Meanwhile, first responders arrive at the scene. They confirm that Adam and his granddaughter are dead. Rosa is taken to a nearby hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. Ethan Nieneker has killed 3 people. But the chaos is far from over because Ethan is frantically trying to escape, and he's not afraid to hurt people in the process. During his escape, he tries to steal multiple vehicles, including a water truck and a self-driving car. He eventually manages to jack a Volkswagen, which he drives to South Austin, about 17 miles from the target. And his string of violence is about to get even more bizarre. Ethan pulls up outside the house of someone he knows from Bible study, throws a brick through the window, then gets back into the Volkswagen and flees. After that, Ethan's movements get a little harder to trace. Somewhere in South Austin, he ditches the car and darts into a porta potty. Moments later, he comes back out, completely nude, and starts running through people's backyards. Someone who lives in the neighborhood sees him and calls the police. Finally, around 3 p.m., after 45 minutes of havoc, the Texas authorities find the stolen Volkswagen abandoned in the middle of the street. They look inside and find the clothes witnesses said that the target shooter had been wearing. Just a few minutes after finding the car, they spot Ethan, nude and seemingly unarmed. Somehow, he'd found a Bible. He's clutching it, still nude, when officers close in on him. Ethan won't listen to their commands, so the officers have to use a stun gun to subdue him. Once he's down, they take Ethan into custody and take him to the hospital. By now, various 911 calls had allowed them to piece together everything Ethan did between the time of the shooting and the time of his arrest. It was confusing, bizarre, and most of all, terrifying. But one of the most troubling things was yet to come. After Ethan Nieneker is arrested and in the hospital, he confesses to the target killings. But he doesn't give a clear motive for his crimes. He just says that he killed the victims because he is Jesus. Investigators are disturbed and quickly dig through Ethan's past and try and understand him better. Soon, they discover that he has a lengthy criminal history, including domestic violence charges, driving under the influence, violation of a protective order, and possession of marijuana. His actions may have also been tied to some serious mental health concerns. It sounds like he had some documented issues, but authorities aren't sure of any specific diagnosis. As of August 20th, 2025, they've issued a mental health evaluation, so we'll be sure to follow up with any updates there. One thing we do know is that Ethan had somehow obtained his gun from a family member, and authorities are considering filing charges against that person. As for Ethan, he's facing 8 charges relating to the shooting and his attempt to flee. Under Texas law, he could face the death penalty for this. Ethan is scheduled to appear in court this month, so once we get updates on his actual court date, we'll keep you posted at Crimehouse 24/7. For now, the city of Austin is still reeling from this utter tragedy, and officials are left wondering how someone with such an extensive history of violence and mental illness could have slipped through the cracks. Most recently, they're looking into his social media, and they've uncovered some troubling posts. This case seems like it's developing quickly, so be sure to check back for more updates on our feed at Crimehouse 24/7. Tomorrow, we're investigating updates on the newest documents revealed in the Idaho murder case, which took the lives of 4 college students. What do you guys think? Our 2 stories today both include suspects who could potentially face the death penalty. We know it's a hotly debated topic. In the meantime, make sure to drop your facts, theories, or anything in the comments. I want to hear it all. And what should we cover next? Tell us at Crimehouse 24/7 on TikTok and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube at Crimehouse Daily. For ad-free listening and more, join Crimehouse Plus on Apple Podcasts. Until then, you stay curious and I'll stay on the case. We'll see you tonight.